and you'll go, I'm hearing that harmony that I. Before you're looking at the music and you're going, what are they doing? You know, that kind of thing. You know.
Well, I don't read music and I can't appreciate it on that level, but I can like what always struck me. And I started listening to jazz with free jazz because it connected with the punk and the noise and the death metal stuff that I was listening to. And
yeah, you were into some atonal like Cage and
like,
some of those.
You know,
take a bunch
stuff.
of pots and pans and roll them down the stairs.
I'm still a fan. Well, what struck me is it is so completely imminent and immersive. Like you can drop into a good jazz tune anywhere you want. It's never the same song. Like I can listen to one of those, particularly when he had his classic quartet, I can listen to that same song 100 times. It's never the same song.
Yeah.
Because I'm listening to Garrison or I'm listening to Jones.
Right.
And as I get older, it makes more sense to me.
Right.
Like suddenly I'm like, you know, I was too young, but now I'm getting it, you know? Now I got the feel.
Wow, yeah.
And it's interesting because part of the parallel with, not that I'm by any means, but Coltrane was obsessed with a character named Doc Savage. And Doc Savage was a pulp hero from the 30s and 40s, 50s, up until the late 50s, and then he stopped. And I was a kid. I was obsessed with Doc Savage. And Doc Savage would get up every morning at 4 in the morning.
Oh.
And he would exercise, and he would read. He would do 2 hours of body and mind training every morning. And Coltrane did the same thing. And I did the same thing. Literally, right. That's what started me this whole thing. I remember as a kid, okay, I got to do whatever. And this obsessive focus on learning a skill and all that sort of stuff. Like, you know, like you guys were talking about, like how you just sort of wandered into college and all that sort of stuff. True. And my experience from birth in the womb is being an obsessive, neurotic bastard. There was always, I've got to get be the best at this. I have to be able to learn this. I have to be, it's like not like you were talking about playing ping pong. You know, I think I may have played 3 ping pong games in my life.
Right.
And if I played ping pong.
But if it was online.
And if I played ping pong, I would play 750 hours a week of ping pong until I could be.
So you could be really great at it.
That's all I could do. Like when I started playing disc golf, like literally there's a towel in my office and I practice every day for hours on my form. That's what I do. That's what I. Till I can get it, you know, okay, I got to be able to throw 400 feet, got to be able to, okay, I got 400 feet, I got to be able to do this. So literally, so when you talk about this stuff, I'm crazy.
Well, you're just not part of the slacker culture.
Well, I think it's a form. Right. I think it's a form of slacker because it keeps me away from maybe some other things, you know.
Yeah.
There's a thing there.
You got the depth. It's the breadth of it.
It's like, you know, my wife will be like, what is it? Well, the first time we hung out, and my wife regrets saying this. She'll try to take it back, but she goes, you know, I wish you drank, because you know we could just be sitting there enjoying this, but I can tell. Like we were at Jarfly. She's sitting there, she's got a drink, and she's just hanging out. And she goes, "You look so intense," and I'm like, "Yeah, because I've been reading up on this some existential constructs, and I'm thinking about how to be able, you know." But she's having a drink.
She's like, dial it back, bro.
And I'm like, you know,
the game's on, the music's playing, whatever it is. It's like,
I'm like, wow. You know? Like even like when somebody posted on, I'm a huge fan of this band called Wire. They're one of the first art punk bands from the '70s, and I'm obsessed with them, like everything. And so somebody posted online 3 weeks ago their favorite post 2000 Wire songs because they reformed and they've been, and so for the last 3 weeks I've been rehearsing in my mind with those 10. And I keep going over, I can't be that one. So I go home, and if I have any time like this morning, when I go home at some point today, I'm going to listen to a couple hours of Wire. I'm going to go through there. You know, that's a good one, but I don't know. But in a couple of weeks, I'm going to have my list.
All right, so one of the things I know about that type of issue is there's no end. There's actually no goal that you reach and go, aha, whew, man, made it. No, it's the next thing that starts before the last one ends, so it's an ongoing chain, and I'm just adding that thought to the conversation.
Oh, I have a friend of mine. We went to school together, and she's a psychologist too. And she would say, I walk into a bookstore, and I feel so overwhelmed that I'll never read those books.
Right.
And it really struck me because I walk into a bookstore and say, oh, thank God I'll never finish this. Because what would I do if I did? You know,
That's it.
That's why,
the kind of
you know, when I discovered Soulseek, and I could steal any album, and you name the most obscure album ever made, and somebody on Soulseek has it because they're all obsessive bastards. And it's like I found the ocean. I'm like, man, it is never. I will never drink this. It will always be present for me in some form or fashion. And so,
well,
about
now,
passion.
okay? I'm fine with that because there's a lot of content if we're making podcasts. I mean, we never run out. All right, so that's a good thing. And on the other hand, okay, relaxing, being comfortable, be in the moment, let it go. We talked about mindfulness. We talked about relaxation.
Well-
Just got kind of get off the grid, get to a place where you're comfortable, and this moment is great.
yeah, there's a concept of a lived moment. And again, I'm an obsessed over the lived moment. I'm
I've
gonna think
asked
about
you
it from
about
every
this, by the way, over a period of time, yeah.
the vertices of the lived moment. And you know, like I think there is a way to take the passion to there is a teaching embedded in Coltrane's music about how to exist and how to be present for the breath that you have, how to be present for the moment that you have no choice but to experience in some form or fashion. And you can bring that to bear on things. I mean that's not I
Sure.
mean it is when I say being driven that's certainly a thing that I
Well,
am.
the
but-
problem I think is that you don't let yourself relax and be in that moment because something else kind of kicks back in that you've got to do. You're sort of searching, and there's always something more out there.
But here's the thing, because I think that when you talk about the live moment, there's such a thing it's the imminent experience, and you guys may experience this with music, but I can have part of the reason I've never done drugs is because I don't have to. If I really listen, and I don't like, I have a music room at home. It's a little bigger than this room. It's bigger than this room.
Okay.
And
we need to move the studio then. Right away.
It's just a stereo, and there are no chairs because when I listen to music, I move, and so I literally can enter this sort of dervish space. And as I get older, it's a little harder because the next day I feel like I've been hit by a truck. But I can be in that space. If Julie goes off to visit the in-laws and takes the kid, I can be in that space for 8-9 hours, and my mind is
Right.
blown. Like I
Right.
am literally, I am communing with God. I am in that space. And so with music, with the reading, if I don't know if you've probably had this experience where you've been literally floored by a sentence or a concept.
Sure.
And when it hits you, you have this moment of expansion, and like you just sort of set the thing down and you go, holy cow. And I assume that's what drugs are because I've never drank or had a cup of coffee or done any mind-altering substance whatsoever. I'm basically Mormon. Without the underwear. I mean, literally without the underwear, not just the fancy underwear, but no underwear at all. But
Okay, that's too much information. And but I understand where you're going with that because
But,
I think that's all right. So first of all, thank you for revealing some of the things.
That I'm not wearing
a lot of
underwear?
us have questions, but it's not about the underwear. But a lot of things about. Okay, so yeah, 4:00 in the morning, you get time to yourself. You're exploring so many things. You're constantly reading and updating things, and you know the shark in the ocean that never stops moving. But are you okay with that? Because that example you just gave was you just found that moment and you could be there for 8 hours. You could just kind of immerse yourself in
Well,
that.
our friends, I've mentioned before, our Buddhist friends, they have that saying that if you only enjoy the meal but not the cooking of the meal or the washing of the dishes, you only have a third of a life. You know, you have these moments of imminence because they carry over into even the moments of the mundane. And so there is a way to hear a little bit of Coltrane playing, even standing in line, you know, to get your Slim Jim in the 7-Eleven.
Okay,
So
you're bringing it way down now, but yeah.
But
go ahead.
I think there is. I think there is a way to be present in those things. So it's not like I think I may be wrong in this because I certainly can't. I don't have a bird's eye view of my own life, but I don't live for Saturday for that 8 hours. I think there is a way in which I can visit these spaces, but I carry them with me. They're not like, it's not like I don't, I think I'm pretty good at being alive. There's a famous quote by Winnicott. It's Winnicott's prayer. Dear Lord, let me be alive when I die. And I think, even though there are, on an average week I put in a good 70 hours, there's still, I can stay alive and breathing during a good percentage of those. So maybe that's a thing. When you work with someone in therapy, they often come to you. They are condemned to the life that they have. They are stuck. I had a patient I hadn't seen in a long time suddenly came back into my office, and I hadn't seen him about 6 years, and they were just telling me stories of being just series of god awful life choices, and I could sort of see and as they're telling me this, I'm like, holy cow, man, this is heavy. And so for a moment I get lost with them, the despair of this chain of events that they've intentionally or unintentionally been part of. You allow yourself to be in despair with them in that moment, but then you hear Coltrane playing. You're aware that there's something, and that allows me to keep at least one toe on the bank to maybe help them come a little closer to the shore. Okay. We'll see how it goes, because that's just our first session in a while, but good gravy.
No, we talked about the idea of the participant and observer, the 1 foot on the bank, 1 foot in the stream, how important that is for therapy and the conversation and the movement in therapy. So you're able to do that. Well, this has sort of been an organic start for our podcast today, because we do.
I think we should call this with the podcast where you've been hacked. We got hacked.
Yes, we did. Yes, that's right. And before this is over, I've got to move a camera, so we're going to have a little technical break here in just a second. But it's always good to have. Dr. Rose needs an audience, and so sometimes the audience have won today. We got the upper echelon right in here today.
Yeah, we got. If we could just take the cruise here.
The cruise has been here. I
That's
sent
right.
you the picture of the cruise in the studio.
I can tell. I can tell. I can feel his
Although
presence.
there's some trouble brewing, so I want to be careful about how that goes.
There's trouble.
Yeah, well, you.
Well,
You're going to start something. I can tell you right
I can
now.
feel I can feel that that his presence, it's like he sort of bends space and time wherever he is, and I can feel that curve, There's a cruise curve going on.
And the good thing is he can explain it to you.
He could, yeah.
Exactly what you're saying there.
Yeah.
So that's always good. Looking forward to him. Matter of fact, I think we're on the books for next Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. The cruise will be in the studio.
Well, what is he going to talk about? What's he going to say? It's going to be...
What is the
Well,
topic?
we're going to grill the expert.
Oh,
And
that's
it's,
right.
The
Grill
questions that lay people like Mike and Tom want.
I heard about that. This is really intriguing. So, what sort of questions do you ask an expert?
Okay, so for a in quantum physics, for instance. What's up with that dead cat? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I like that.
There was a couple other ones, like what was the one you came up with, Mike? You came up with one that was out there.
I first mentioned aliens, for example. The idea that there are 100 billion galaxies. There are 100 billion stars in each of those galaxies, all having planets revolving around. Why haven't we heard from someone yet? Or maybe we have. If you listen to the last Joe Rogan podcast with Dan Aykroyd, okay,
that guy
be careful there.
He may have taken a turn. I've heard about that. Well, one of the questions I'd ask him is how come astrophysicists get more chicks than Sinatra? What is the deal with that?
Okay, well we can put that on the agenda to talk
Ask
about.
him about that,
coming
like,
up, man. Maybe just send in some viewer questions, and then
that guy. That
ask
guy's
the
got
expert.
he's got more notches on his belt than I don't know, Tiny Tim. What? Speaking
All right,
of,
so here
what
we
sort
are.
of questions would you ask a psychologist?
Well, the first thing I would ask about this mindfulness concept.
You would.
So many people are really, as you say, they're focused on I'm a prisoner of my life. Mm-hmm. So if you're the prisoner, maybe you hold the key. How does all that work? That would be if I came to you and I said all these forces are impinging on me, and I can't seem to get unstuck. My relationships are bad. My job is not happening for me. Help me, Mr. Wizard.
That's a tough one, man. And I'd say retire.
Hey, and retirement's awesome.
Let me
by
just
the way,
say a few
bro.
words about retirement. All good. Here we go.
Maybe
So
I'll
this
make
is
it.
something to work for.
Maybe I'll make it. I'll make it.
On the other hand, you, my friend,
Mm-hmm.
retired doesn't seem to fit. I'm just going to say,
I might-
given what we've just learned about you,
I might. Yeah, it's not a.
yeah, that's a fixed point in time. We're not moving toward that. It's going to be a progress.
What's funny? One of my
thing.
mentors, he just retired. He was one of the first psychoanalysts I knew in my program, and he's 91.
All right, there you go.
And I think he had a private practice and was teaching up until the age of 90.
Wow.
So,
all right, let's
you
keep
know-
that. Yeah, I mean that's a potential. We are living longer, and so that he's
Yeah, I
making
think,
use
yeah.
of that kind of thing.
He,
for sure.
I think he did. I think the reason he retired was because his meth habit. I think it finally
Okay,
finally
there you
took
go.
its toll.
See, that's
I know.
why that's exactly that statement right there. And Sean Cruzen, the Cruise, coming in the studio with those kind of questions.
That guy needs a meth habit. I'm
It's
just
going to
saying,
put the heat
that guy
on me.
needs meth. If anybody, I normally wouldn't say this to someone, but you know, man, I think he needs a drug habit. I wouldn't.
All right, we are so off the rails today, but at the same time, like we said, it's organic. We're kind of moving towards
It
something
is.
here.
Well-
We've talked about several different things. You want to kind of go on any of those topics that you
Well,
just brought
I'm
up?
intrigued
Because-
by a couple of things because Hackett has the 5 questions for experts, and I felt that I don't think I qualify as an expert in any way, but I would at some point like to hear those 5 questions because I would like I just want to know like what would be.
Well, the first thing, Mike and I have to go to the panel of experts. We have the panel of experts
Panel of
that
experts.
Yeah.
devises the questions for the experts.
Is this the
to grill
chicken and
them.
biscuit place downstairs?
Brewster's ice cream is the last
Actually,
time I
yeah,
heard
the last
something
one
about
was
it, but,
outside Brewster's ice
Okay,
cream.
well, that's-
Just
that's
whoever
okay.
whoever's at Brewster's. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, well that.
Yeah, these questions dubious at best, a little sketchy is what somebody said.
Okay,
on
it's
the thing.
like
so.
Health,
It's just the way it is. Right
my
now.
luck, you get if you were to ask me, you get my questions mixed up with the adult film star that you were going to interview. So suddenly
Right.
I'm asked questions like like what is it with that gag reflex? I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't know.
See, this is. I'm glad Dr. Hackett is getting to observe and to understand what I have to go through
Yeah, sorry,
to get a podcast out on the World Wide Web.
So one of the
One of
questions
those
we asked,
things, but hey, we keep doing it for some reason. So,
the first grill the expert, we grilled Mike, and since Mike was on the grill, he
Let's
couldn't
just
grill
say
himself.
reluctant.
But
remember the movie Reluctant Astronaut with Don Knotts? Okay, that was
Yeah, I
that was
remember that.
that was where I was at
Yeah.
as
Yeah, you
Grill
did a
the
movie with a
Expert.
talking fish. Remember that one?
Please,
But
worst, one of the worst. But still, we like Don Knotts.
The questions we did, or that the panel of experts came up with for Mike, revolved around the idea that okay, we're in a new millennium. What are the what are the mental health issues in this millennium that may be different from previous times? And then second, we went to the idea of okay, so what are strategies for dealing with those issues? So that's the kind of thing we came up with, but we had very specific questions,
Well, see, we talked about that. The idea that
Yeah.
the Gutenberg mind versus the digital mind.
Yes.
And that
Matter of fact, I pull some of the stuff we talked about from
That
that.
was-
You see,
yeah.
that's why these things kind of help and come together sometimes.
because
So there you
the
go.
idea that like when my son, just an example, it's like my son is he plays League of Legends. And by the way, CSU now has a League of Legends team. It's like that's like a campus sport.
Oh, is that one of the things?
So-
Okay.
So,
I agree.
and he's saying, "Tell me this character. I got this character. This character's so cool. Let me show you the character. How cool he is. Or how cool the character is." Kept saying, "Cool. How character the cool is."
Right.
So I go up and he says, "This is the character," and it's a female character.
Right.
It's a woman. Oh, look how cool she is. She's doing. I'm thinking, when I was his age, I couldn't do that. I couldn't have chosen a female character.
No.
I couldn't.
That's
I would
probably
have. I mean, I could have thought it, but I couldn't have expressed it. And could I have said it to my dad? Now, my dad probably was pretty cool, and he was a liberal commie, so probably he would have been more than okay with it. But if he only could see me now. But I think that notice how the very fabric, the web of culture has changed. So that there has been a movement, and my mind is different than his. It already is. Like he has, he is a digital native. He has a digital mind. He can think. When he's trying to teach me how to play one of the games, like the keyboard to him is a different thing. To me, it is simply a word processing hand. And so you can literally see the shift and the change. And since I do a lot of work with adolescents in my private practice, you know, they force me to move out of my Gutenberg, book sort of way of thinking about things and you can often tell the difference between other therapists. Like if you're gonna work with folks I work with a lot of college students too. You're forced to be able to think but I still will not have the mind that he does. So when you talk about what are the mental health issues we have to face, one thing is you can't go back. We can't.
No.
And again, not to get political, but our current president kept saying, "Let's make America great again." And I think part of what drove the folks who voted for him is the sheer terror of realizing that first off, there never was the America you want to go back to. It's what we call après-coup in psychoanalytic thought. It's retroactive reconstruction. No lost certainties can be found, but by the sheer terror of the fact that we have been replaced, and we are slowly but surely being replaced. I will not be able to compete in the world that my son is being formed for, and that's a scary thing. No.
I think so. And we talked about some of this with our podcast with Tom about the coping skills and the way to sort of take a break from all of the chaos that is going on. And so, these basic counseling skills as well, where you have some empathy, you develop the ability to see it from another person's point of view, but also you're authentic. You're trying to be who you are. And I think that's the way we led off this conversation today. So it seems to permeate a lot of things that we talk about. And I'm down with that. But I think and you mentioned too, Dan, just to say that this is a progressive thing. It's what's before, it's during, it's after. It's a chain of events to be truly aware and in the moment, as we talked about so many times.
And think about what you said there with the in the moment. You mentioned the mindfulness. I think at its core, and there's a philosopher named, I mentioned him before, Slavoj Žižek. Žižek.
By the way, some of the most interesting videos out there and talks out on the internet is Zizek, because you will not predict what he's going to say next.
No, in fact, he is of the left, but he is one of the most offensive and politically incorrect people you will ever encounter. Willfully so.
Yeah. But makes sense and comes around if you listen to him long enough. He brings it around, and you got to go, "Oh yeah, I get that now. Okay, I got it."
But his take on mindfulness is that in a way, mindfulness, at least what he calls it Western Buddhism and the Western Buddhism practice of mindfulness, is in some ways the most inauthentic practice available. Because the goal of Western mindfulness is just to be able to get you to lower your anxiety enough so you can continue to be a cog in the wheel, right?
Right.
So you continue to buy, continue to work, and not question the fact that the anxiety that you're attempting to still through mindfulness is actually a reflection of your sanity. You should be feeling the things you're feeling, and the moment that you're trying to move into is not the real moment. And this notion that in some ways mindfulness, if we're not careful, will turn us into capitalist zombies. We will work and we will spend, and we will not ask ourselves, what is this anxiety we're experiencing about?
Some of the things, there's a part of it too that we buy into, that we accepted as a result of being in this society, and we are a cog in the wheel, although we like to demonstrate our independence and our individuality. But there's something very important about what he's saying there, that we need to be aware of that and decide what we're going to do about it, if we do anything.
Well, when you say what we're going to do, because one of the things that Hackett said there is that if somebody comes in and they say that, look, I've got all these things going on, all these conflicts in my life, all this, I want all this changed. Well, the goal is, one thing is to be able to say that, actually, no, the conflicts that you have are the life you have. You don't want to, if you untie the knot, then you may have nothing at all. you do this sometimes in couples work. Couples, I have this spiel where I always say, you know, couples don't have fights, they have one fight. And our goal is to name the fight you have. And the goal is not to stop that fight, because if we untie that knot, we untie the marital knot. But the goal is to be able to have some understanding so this conflict can move you forward. You should get better at it. It's not that it should stop.
Right.
And that, I think there's something, mindfulness, if we're not careful, and some of the quick fixes that we have are aimed at, I mean, you know, I'm not a huge fan of CBT, you know?
Got it.
Now, that's not the oil. That's CBD, right? That's,
Yeah.
okay, I'm
Here we
a
go.
huge fan
I'm
of that.
glad you clarified all of that.
I'm a huge fan
right.
because, you know, every night before I go to bed, a bathtub of CBD oil, just sort of lower myself into it.
But not cognitive behavioral therapy.
I would never do
Okay,
that, but I would the bathtub
okay,
full of
there you go.
CBD, just sort of float. If I could have a swimming pool of CBD, we'd have a party. We'd all just kind of. How would that end?
With the police? I don't know. That doesn't sound right.
That's
But
probably-
yeah, okay.
So I'm not.
But the point.
The point, there was a point somewhere. I'm not a fan of CBT, partly because I am, as you know, I supervise a bunch of folks.
Yes.
I supervise burgeoning psychologists. So they're
Who
on
may
their.
be CBT.
They're often very
people
young,
as well.
and
So, yeah,
their
there you
programs
go.
often sort of do this, and so often
Until you
what-
convert them, I might say.
I
So,
try to, and
having-
usually
having
conversion
worked
involves, you know,
with
it's you ever you know what trepanning is? You put the hole in the head. That's how.
Oh yeah,
that's how
that
I
was
do
a
it.
while back.
So, yeah,
Okay.
we had the
Bet we don't
ancient
do that
Mayans
anymore.
used to do a lot of that trepanning sort of thing.
Okay.
It's not, yeah, but
Yeah.
so that they come in and they'll often and I'll see this where, you know, like, and I'll watch a video of one of their tapes here.
Right.
I'll often see an instance where I don't know about you,
Yep. There we go.
but there's this famous saying by one of my men Wilfred Bion. I've talked about him before too.
I bet we have.
We have. And he says, anytime two people meet, an emotional storm is created. So his basis is that even among friends, there is always a disturbance in your internal world the minute someone comes close enough to you for it to be considered an encounter. Like the way the moon affects the tides, right? So there's always this emotional storm. And we have a reflexive, automatic way of being able to navigate this. You know, the Earth doesn't have to think the moon's already there. And the goal is what we do with that. And as therapists, oftentimes the way they answer that initial impact of the person walking in and sitting in their office is to reach for a worksheet.
The most.
Okay, let's do this. Right?
I've actually been in that situation supervising when the person left the room to get a worksheet.
That's right, yeah.
And the couple
And they
was-
never came back, even though they had the
Well,
worksheet.
it took a long time. They must have had a Xerox copy maybe or something. But the couple they were crying in the session when the person went for the worksheet. Worst example, but yes,
but that's
exactly
a
know
beautiful
what you mean.
example of how they are mediating that emotional storm, and there are ways to do that in an authentic manner that generates the very impact that could be healing, right? Like you can tell when somebody is sitting across from you and they are literally waiting on the next thing they're going to say, right?
Right.
That would be a wonderful example of inauthentic. But if you're in the presence of somebody who's open and you can tell they're actually listening to you,
Sure.
that in of itself is a healing thing, right?
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing too. I mean, I don't think we often get that
Right.
in our hustle bustle society and
Wait,
chaos.
I'll
that
tell
we
you,
have now.
occasionally when my wife overdoes her Xanax, I get that. I come home, you know, she drools a little, but I can tell she's listening. You know.
Let me just we'll have Julie in at some point, and she'll
Yes.
clear up all of these
She will.
misconceptions.
Well, here's
about
what she'll
her
say.
about
She
me.
said, the reason I need the Xanax is I'm married to this bastard. You know how many Xanax?
Now
it
that
takes
part,
to get-
I think I understand.
it takes to get through
Absolutely,
this?
yes. Well, you bring up some interesting ideas too, and I think sometimes the behaviorist, not only the cognitive behaviors, but the behaviors themselves, are really talking about how to end something, a bad behavior, how to
That's right,
how to
yeah.
stop something. So, not just lower anxiety, but get rid of anxiety. So we know that they're marching
Well,
in the wrong
I
direction.
was trained.
there, for sure.